that you clicked on this video, you wanted to learn how to make one of these. So for this project, the yarn that I'm going to be using is going to be this anti-pilling everyday worsted gradient yarn. It is a medium weight 4 yarn. I got it from Premier Yarns, and I personally like this yarn better than using like Red Hard or Walmart yarn, just because I felt like it was a little bit softer. And this is the other color that I'm going to use. It's already halfway gone because I've already completed one of my panels. But for this project, I am going to be using 1.5 for each panel. But like I said, me personally, I just felt like this yarn was a little bit better to work with for this particular project. I wanted it to be softer on the skin. You don't have to worry about any blocking or anything just because the yarn is so soft. And with this project, I am using my size 6mm hook for this project. Now, if you want to use a smaller hook, by all means, go ahead. It's just going to take a little bit longer. So for this project, I am going to be working this project horizontally. So our base chain is going to be how wide we want our Moo Moo to be. So for the base chain, for my size, I did chain up 110. Now, it could be more chains or less chains depending on the size that you're going for. I do have a written pattern, and in that written pattern, we'll have all the measurements and sizing if you wanted to purchase that. But for this tutorial, it's just going to be pretty straightforward. You'll just have to kind of figure out the measurements on your own. But for me, I did 110. I felt like that was wide enough. But like I said, just chain as much as you need to get that width that you're going for. And I like to make projects super easy for you to follow, so we're not going with any intervals, just chain. Okay, so I have all my chains done. Like I said in the beginning, I've done a total of 110 chains. Now that 110 chains was wide enough for me. So once you have all your chains on your hook, you're going to count back 6 chains. So in that 6th stitch is where you're going to insert your first double crochet stitch. So in that 6th chain, I chose to do the 6th chain because it counts like we have the 3 chains count as your double crochet, and then we have a chain 1 on the hook as well. And then we're going to be working with our mesh stitch, so you are going to be skipping stitches. So that's why I chose to go into the 6th stitch with our first stitch. So you see here we have our 3 chains, which is the double crochet, our chain 1, and then our skip stitch as well. So now once you have your double crochet, you're going to chain 1, you're going to skip a chain, and then in that next chain, that's where you're going to enter your next double crochet. You're going to chain 1 again, skip a chain, and then that following chain, you're going to insert a double crochet. So you're going to repeat that all the way down your foundation chain. So you're just going to chain 1 and keep going. Make sure to skip a stitch, and then in that following stitch, you're going to insert a double crochet. Now, if you wanted to work this pattern up with treble crochets, by all means, go ahead and do that. I just chose to use double crochet. That's just a stitch that I like to use, but if you've seen it somewhere else and you wanted to try double crochet, go for it. And if you wanted to use a smaller stitch like a single crochet, I mean, you can, but you'll be here all day. Alright, so once you get to the end of the chain, you've inserted your last stitch, your last double crochet. Now, depending on the number that you did in the beginning for your foundation chain, you could possibly have one more chain left, and that's okay. Don't worry about it too much. You can insert another double crochet stitch in there, or you can skip it if you don't feel like putting a stitch there. But I would say you can go ahead and put a stitch there. It's okay if you didn't have enough to skip. So once you've inserted your last double crochet stitch, you're going to chain up 2. And then once you chain up 2, you're going to turn your work. And in that first square that we have, the first box, you're going to insert your first double crochet. Once you've inserted your first double crochet, you're going to chain 1, and then so on and so forth. So in each square down the row, you're going to insert your 1 double crochet plus your chain 1, like we did in the beginning. So you're going to go all the way down the row until you reach the end. Now we're at the end of our row. I've inserted my last double crochet. So once I've inserted my last double crochet in that last box, I'm going to chain up 2. And then I'm going to turn my work and repeat the same thing. So into this first square right here, I'm going to enter my first double crochet. And then after I do my double crochet, always remember I'm going to chain up one, and then I'm going to insert my double crochets in each square all the way down. We are working with our mesh stitch, so that is why we are skipping stitches, just to kind of give it that loose fit, that nice flow for our Moo Moo. So just continue this all the way down, and that is the pattern for each panel. So you're just going to keep going, repeating these rows until you reach the length of your Moo Moo that you're going for. Now, I'm 5'4", so I'm going to do a total of about 65 rows. I felt like that was long enough for me, but you can do more or less rows. So I have completed my panel, and as I mentioned in the beginning, I did already complete my second panel with the other color. So I have my 2 panels done, so I'm going to lay them face to face on each other, just lining them up, because now we're going to start working on our shoulder seams. So you just want to line up your 2 panels as such, and then you want to kind of figure out where you want your shoulder to stop. So you're going to seam it all the way up until you want your neck hole to start. So I counted the boxes that I have at the end of the row. So I have a total of 53 boxes. So what I did was I divided 53 by 3, because we have 2 shoulder sides and then the middle for the neck hole. And that number gave me a number of 17.6. So I just kind of rounded that up to 18. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to count 18 boxes. I'm going to count 18 boxes, and then I'm going to insert a stitch marker just to kind of mark off where I'm going to stop. So once you have your number of where you want your neck hole to start, now you don't have to use the calculations that I did. You can simply just try it on or hold it up against you and just see where you want it to stop and start. Okay, so go ahead and figure out what box you want to stop your shoulder seam at, and then insert a stitch marker. I don't have any stitch markers, so I am using a bobby pin, but it works just as good. Remember to go ahead and do the same thing for your other shoulder, just so you have everything nice and neat and planned out and ready to go. So I have both stitch markers here pinned up, so I know where I'm going to end off. So once you have everything marked off, you're going to insert your hook into the first square, making sure to go in both panels. So you're going to insert your hook, and I'm just going to be using slip stitches for this. You can use like single crochet, but I just felt like slip stitch looked a little bit better because you don't see the seam as much. So I'm just going into each box in both panels with a slip stitch, and I'm going to do this up until I reach my stitch marker. Once I reach my stitch marker, I'm going to cut and fasten off and do the same thing on the other side. So once you've seamed up both shoulder seams, I did go ahead and turn my work because we're going to start working on our armholes. So I did turn my work, and I counted down 15 squares because I felt like that is where I wanted my armhole to stop. So I did put a stitch marker right here because that is where I'm going to start my seam. So I have the armhole open. So right here where the stitch marker is where I'm going to start my seam, and I'm just going to slip stitch from this point all the way down the side of my dress. And you're going to do the same thing for the other side. So you can try it on and see where you want it to start, or you can just do the same if you're following the same amount of stitches that I'm doing, the same size. Just count down 15. I felt like that was right. Not right under my armpit, but a little bit further down, just to give it that flowy arm look. So I did 15, and like I said, I'm just going to slip stitch in each stitch all the way down. So in each like box that you find, just keep going all the way down. You can insert one slip stitch, or you can insert like 2 slip stitches in each. However you want to do it. You can do 2 single crochets in each box, whatever you prefer. I'm just going to insert 1 slip stitch all the way down. I did want to point out, for this tutorial, I am going to be sewing up the sides because I did go for like a abaya style dress. But if you wanted to go for that real Moo Moo look where the sides are kind of like flowy, you would pretty much just do the same thing. You would slip stitch all the way down, but you just wouldn't start it on the edge of the dress. You would just slip stitch further in. So you can kind of use where your neck hole is starting as a guide, and that's where you would slip stitch all the way down. Okay, so at this point we have everything seamed up. We have our 2 shoulders seamed, and then we have our sides seamed as well. So we have our armhole open, so we slip stitched all the way down. So this is our armhole, and everything is completed. Everything is sewn shut. Now you can be done at this point. Honestly, you can just turn your work right side out, and you can put your dress on, and you'll be good to go. Your Moo Moo is complete. But for this project, I am going to be going a step further, because like I said, I was kind of going for like that abaya style dress, to kind of make it a little bit more versatile. So I'm going to be adding some straps on the inside of the dress, just to kind of make it adjustable to where if I wanted the Moo Moo to be tighter or looser on my torso portion of the dress. So I'm going to roll it up just so it's easier to work with, but I'm just going to find where the neck hole starts, and then I'm going to line it up to where the armhole ends. So from where the neck hole starts and where the armhole ends, I'm going to insert my hook right here. I'm eyeballing this. There's no perfect count for your stitch or anything. Just kind of eyeball it. And once you have your spot where you're going to insert your hook, that is where you're going to add your strap. So I have my yarn attached to that point where I'm going to put my strap. So from here, I'm just going to chain up 55. Now 55 was a good number for me. It's not too long or anything like that. I just felt like it was a good number. There was no science behind that number. I just kept chaining until I felt like it looked long enough. I'm just eyeballing this project. Just don't make your chain super long, because remember, it's not going around the entire torso. It's just going on the back half. And you're going to do another short chain on the other side. So each panel is going to have two straps. So don't make it too long. 55 is long enough. So once I finish that chain, I am just eyeballing from where I inserted that first strap and going over to where I want my next strap to be. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. There is no real science behind it. Just eyeball it and figure out where exactly you want the strap to be. So once you've attached your yarn, go ahead and chain the same amount that you did on the other strap. So I did 55, so I'm chaining 55 again on this side. And then once I have my chain of 55, I'm going to cut and fasten off, and that will be the end of my straps. So you're going to repeat this for on the other side as well, because it is a reversible Moo Moo. So you want to have the straps on both sides. Now, if you don't want to wear this reversible, say this is all one color, you're not using 2 colors, you don't have to do that step. You'll just have it on one side. So yeah, I have my straps completed, and this is what it looks like. So once you put it on, if you want it to be tighter, I would, you would pull it and tie a knot on the inside of the dress. It's going to be on the inside, so it's not going to be showing on the outside. So after this, you can turn your work right side out, and you are done with your Moo Moo, y'all. There's nothing else to do other than like weaving in your loose ends. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial.